So our final session of the day is the Agentic Leaders Playbook Skills that Matter in the AI Era. And I'm sure that's a conversation that, again, critically important because the playbook that we were all trained on is basically obsolete, right? So they're going to answer a ton of questions. We're going to have Jason Kelly, Global Managing Director of Core Business Application at IBM Consulting, who will also bring closing remarks as well. And alongside Jason, Maria Lansing, Global CIO and CTO at Sorensen Communications, and a fellow board member. Welcome. Whoop, whoop. Oh, and thanks again for closed captioning. Again, I'm going to say that one more time, Sorensen. Thank you.
Choose these two. Good afternoon, everybody. Enjoying yourself? Oh, and good afternoon. There we go. All right.
We're doing logistics live. No AI for this.
So we're gonna pull a somewhat of an audible here. We are the last team in front of you, and you have heard a lot of discussion. And in just the time I just literally walked through the door just a little bit ago, thanks to an on-time flight. And as I was talking to Maria, a lot of what we were going to say, and I had it on my iPad, I'm looking through it, and we're just checking it off. We're like, yep, they said that. Yep, they said that. Yep, they said that. So we get to have the fun of being the last, so we can say, yeah, what they said. And that's it. But we wanted to use this as an opportunity to give you the floor. And so we didn't have time Q&A in the last session, and you all have a lot of questions. So we're going to be the catchers, all right? And I'll tell you that we won't do the long introduction, but I'll tell you what I do know of Maria and why I know that she can do this. She's been in the C-suite and at the CIO, CTO role in Walgreens, in AT&T, at McKesson, and now at Sorensen. So if she doesn't know the answer to your question, we're in trouble, okay? So I'm Jason Kelly, and I lead what we call our core business applications business in our IBM consulting group. Consulting group that serves 170 countries around the world. We have 160,000 employees. My business group is responsible for just under half of the approximately 22 billion in rev that we drive. So we have a huge target on our backs. All of those brands that have AI, Oracle, SAP, Salesforce, Adobe, ServiceNow, Workday, those are my businesses. I have great teams and leaders that lead that globally, tens of thousands of great, smart people and teams that allow me to have time to talk. So over to you, Rid, for a quick intro.
Thank you so much. And thank you for staying with us till the end. We're going to make this fun for you. As Jason so kindly said, I've done a lot. I've been very blessed with opportunities to sit at really interesting tables that pushed me. But if you think about my trajectory, we have all together lived through a lot of change, haven't we? Sorensen, if you don't know us, we do communications for the deaf or hard of hearing. The deaf in the United States is 1.4 million people, but hard of hearing is 40 million people and growing. And the last 16 patents that we filed in 2026 alone have been around AI solutions and AI patterns that we're leveraging to be able to do what we do real time for you at the best quality that we can to service those that need it. We also have services and products that are translating real time into 25 different languages. So if you had the QR code and you wanted to scan that, you literally get a page, you select what language you want to hear in real time. In the background, AI is doing all the allocation of the best pairing and the best engines to use for the best translation possible. So that's what we do every day. But we are leaders. And I think Jason and I both probably have a lot of experiences that we can share with you that have pushed us personally, because you've heard a lot of what we need to do in business, across cybersecurity, across organizational alignments, across the tech stack, across entrepreneurship. But this section is about what it takes for each of you to be a leader for the future. So that's what we wanted to talk to you about.
So a little known fact, and I'll try and drop a couple of these in every now and then, is that both Maria and I sit on tech advisory boards at SMU.
Yes.
So that's another common thing that or something we have in common in addition to technology. I do want to start. So there was one of the questions that hadn't been answered, or at least it was an ask in the script. It was in our prep. Yeah, we'll call it a prep, not a script. So we saw it, but it was one sentence. If you could put in one sentence something that today's leader would need to know, or that you would advise them in this new AI world, what would it be? So let me ask you, Maria, and then I'll give my sentence if I can remember it.
For me, it was to be a translator. And it's different, right? When I was growing up as a CIO 10, 15 years ago now, geez, actually, I'm just going to say 10. It was a broker. It was a broker between technology and the business. It was a brokerage kind of relationship. Now it's a true translator, a translator of value, right? A translator, you heard it earlier, for your team to build trust. Why are you making decisions in a way that appeals to 5 different generations that are in the workforce today? A translation of profitability in a company into the actual customer impact. So the brain does translate into the heart, because we have to inspire and motivate, right? But we still have to drive profitability for a company. You're the translator. You're the translator that brings trust. You're the translator that brings clarity. You are the translator that is going to say, where is human dignity in what I do through AI?
So awesome. Great minds think alike. So translator, my word is orchestrator. So all of you have to be a proactive orchestrator, regardless of where you are in the organization, at the top, in the middle, or just starting. This capability we now have requires collaboration. There's a merger of roles, and that gray area is becoming even more gray. Oh, I'm in IT. Well, IT needs to be embedded in everything you do in the organization at this point, because it is intelligent. It's true intelligence. However, it's augmented intelligence. So you are an orchestrator of collaborative outcomes that you have to still drive with human intent. So that's my one sentence with the key on orchestrator and leadership. So with that, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pass the mic. Do we have another mic? Do we?
No, it's us. So
okay, so we'll pass this back and forth, and we're going to open it up for Q&A. And when I say Q&A, I mean anything that it could have been any one of the sessions. It could have been on the cybersecurity. It could be on entrepreneurship. It could be on the human side. But ask any question, and we'll answer it, or we'll make it up if we don't know the answer. We will tell you our opinions, and we'll have it as interactive as we can be.
Hi, Jason, Maria. Oh, sorry. Are you sure? Okay. I'll be quick. Hi, my name is Edgardo. I work at Palo Alto Networks. I lead global talent enablement and inclusion.
Tell Nitesh I said hello.
Will do.
All right.
And one of the things that Carlos on the earlier panel brought up was around this focus on expanded scope of control, right? So the ratio of a manager to employees and now agents as well. And, we recently heard Mark Benioff talk about being the last CEO to only manage humans and seeing others sort of follow suit. I'm curious if you're seeing in your world that change of expanding how many direct reports and agents managers are leading, and then also what mechanisms can we put into place to avoid burnout as the complexity also increases of the work that you're having to do?
Great question. I love this question because it's real. I'm living through it. When I came to Sorenson, from large corporations, what you learn really well is to scale, right? And to scale, you have to bring clarity and decision-making as close to the people making the work as possible if you want to be successful. So I had in my engineering organization 180 engineers, and I had 7 layers of management. 7 layers. And don't let me start there. And about 30 different management. The new head of engineering that I put over that ended up, we reduced all that to 3 layers. That's it. And 13 leaders, all reporting to the head of engineering, who used to have 2. That person very quickly became overwhelmed. So we had to do a lot of coaching. What are your systems of management? That's really important for you to think through. How clear am I in how I'm making sure that there's clarity of what we need to do, so I don't need to talk to you every day? And when I talk to you, what am I talking to you about? I'm very clear on my one-on-ones. How are you? How's it going? Did you hear, by the way, Lorraine gave us a live example of what it's like to connect as a person that AI is not going to do, right? We heard from somebody that said, I wanted to come in like the price is right. And she's real-time feedback said, what? I'm going to say goodbye to you in that manner because I hear you. We need to move away from managing to leadership. And that's a really important thing. But systems of management also means how do you hold accountability? Because the thing with AI, as you start having agents in front of you, and you will soon, because I do, manage 2 agents as well as my leaders, and I do that purposefully. My agent is way too powerful for me to let it be on its own. So if you think about that, you have to have guardrails and clarity of how you manage it. On the other end, it moves way too fast for you to be command and control. So you have to find that happy medium of guardrails, clarity of outcome, and I think somebody said metrics, however you're measuring what you're going to be doing as you go. But your capacity is also your own personal boundaries. And if you're not managing that, it will suck you up because we want to be the best. We want to do great. And somewhere we heard is hard work, right? It's a smart work, guys. It's not just hard work. Where am I using my time? I am ruthless with my calendar. What is this about? I require my team to send me the what and the why of the meeting. And I am notorious for canceling meetings the day before with an email that says, approved, we don't need to meet 30 minutes back.
And now, how many of you want to be in that environment where you get this 30, give me those 30 minutes. They stack up. That's right. So look, this is a moment where I get to play like the Oprah, where I say, and this is what you all get for attending. Yeah. So IBM has a CEO study that we do every year. That CEO study is highly valuable in that it brings together this year's study 2,000 CEOs across 31 geographies and 21 industries. It's a very, very wonderful handbook. So I do get back to the title of this. It is a handbook from the C-suite, and it's titled The Rewiring of the C-Suite. And I'm going to use that as a background. I'm saying we'll make sure that everyone has a link to that. It's free, and it's very informative. And I'll borrow from that to answer my part of the question here is that, in fact, we know that 75% of those CEOs are seeing a blur between their talent organization and the rest of the C-suite because of what you've just asked. Is now there's this merger of what's a digital worker, what's a human worker. I will tell you that in our organization, I mentioned that we have 160,000, give or take a few hundred consultants. We have the highest number of people in our organization in IBM as a whole. And it's not the highest margin nor profitability for those that we just had. Andar's with Accenture. He knows the business well. He's just on stage here with Price is Right. Welcome and entry. So what do we have? Well, we have a mandate. We have a platform with digital workers for our consultants. And we want each of them to have about 10 of those. So that now means we have 1.6 million talents, digital and human, that we're managing. And I think the overwhelming statement that Maria just, that's exactly what happens. People get overwhelmed. I will say there's a lot of hype. And in one of my favorites, I'll date myself, but still they're a cool group, but Public Enemy, PE, if you know Public Enemy, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype, because I will tell you, we're not going to get rid of them. I'm didn't get the name of remember the lady in the blue jacket. I just remember it was the blue jacket. So when you made mention there about some of the human, you'd pay a premium for the human. What wouldn't we all? I mean, we just came through a few years back, COVID, where we were dying for human contact. Like we'd do anything. We'd risk sickness just to, say, yeah, we're going to make this drink live. I'm going next door with a bottle of champagne. You did whatever you could do to talk to a human. It's true. And when you're staring at a screen and you're using your digital workers and they're not really interacting as humans, that's what happens. That's the reality. We know that we were hiring more software engineers than ever. The first thing that we heard was, oh, well, it's going to be this is going to affect entities and jobs that are very heavy in analysis of text and reading, such as law firms. Guess what? Law firms are hiring more junior lawyers and paralegals than ever. Statistic, go to your favorite AI agent and ask them what I just said. Fact check me. It's true. Okay. So that's what we see, is that I do think that it takes, as leaders, us to sift through reality and the rumor, but be ready to deal with the complexity that AI is going to bring.
Sorry, my mic is on. Hi, Liz Augusto here. Just a question on, you've both been through major tech shifts in your careers. What would you say is the hardest leadership decision that you've made in the last 18 months related to AI, and what did it teach you?
That's an easy one for me. So I'll start. So I've been fortunate. I've been in IBM is my 5th career. I've been in IBM just over 20 years, close to 25. And in that time, I've had about 17 jobs, and none of those jobs existed before I had them. So I've spent my career in IBM. It's a very fortunate career, starting one thing after the next for the business, to grow the business. And so it's always been, we can go back to services-oriented architecture, to our first obsession as an industry with data, when we decided data and analytics was there. When cloud was a thing, when it first was the thing. And then I'll fast forward to blockchain. Launched our blockchain business, and that was it. And the hype around that was unbelievable, still is somewhat unbelievable. And now here we are at AI. Why did I give you that background? Because the speed at which we are changing in this one, because I do believe it's different. I mean, there's a lot of things that are the same, but once you get past the hype, it's very different. One of the hardest decisions that I've had to make was to look at people who aren't adopting and adapting. And it's a real thing. And if it's one of these, if you get behind, you're not going to catch up. You're not going to read the Clef Notes version of that's another aging thing. If you know what I'm talking when I say Clef Notes. But you're not going to catch up if you're not already in the middle of it now. If you're not getting your hands dirty in building an agent, even if you just ask another agent to build the agent for you and explain how they did it. If you're not that curious, you probably should go home and do something else. And so some of the most difficult decisions, and I will say plural, have been having that conversation with people who are on my team, either directly or indirectly, and say, all right, it's time. And, and some of it was well accepted and some of it wasn't. So very difficult because it's human. There's not going to be an agent in the future where you're going to, I mean, come on, who's ever been, you don't break up with a relationship by text. That if you've done that, you're a bad person. No. But that's it. You can't have an agent talk to someone. You have to have that interaction. So that's the most difficult thing I've done.
I'll leave it there. Laying off people for.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Ranjit from Dell, part of the AI strategy team at Dell, and it's just a quick question. So I've been loving the sports analogies all day. I think there's been a lot of those going, so I'll stay on theme here. I think Jesse kind of mentioned about the player coaches kind of model of leadership, right? It's a lot more flatter orgs. You can see that across the blocks and the Atlassians and everyone else in the world. So I was kind of curious, right? I think I've kind of the recent grad phase of my life, so it's been about 4 years at Dell. someone told me 4 years ago the model will be very different from a leadership path, where you would not have the more traditional managers, directors, VPs, and all that. So what does that trajectory look like now, and what advice y'all have for someone trying to navigate that path where there's not as many leadership roles, I guess, more traditional leadership roles?
Yeah, I'm the worst person to ask that too, because I wish I could tell you you're talking to somebody that's super intentional and she started saying, I'm going to be a CIO someday. You're talking to somebody that said, tell me what to do, put me in the dark room and close the door. I think you have an enviable path. What I do know is this: you're going to have to get really good at unlearning very quickly. And I say that because when I look at the hardest decisions we're making is in talent. And in those hard decisions, I'm also having hard decisions to make of when I have to lead myself, even if it makes me the most unpopular person in the group. And in AI, those are real decisions. If you're a parent, if you're a coach, you know, sometimes you do have to put that best kid out on the bench because something is not working. It's going to have to be both. The leader of the future, I was talking to the head of Russell Reynolds' CEO practice. He searches CEOs across the world. And I asked him, we were at dinner, what are you looking for now that was different before? He said, you know, it used to be that I looked for skill set, Maria. Now it's all the soft skills. We have a generation that is hitting, right? Like, if you think 2020, 6 years later, they are coming into our environment and they are not great at social. They communicate. How many of you have kids that you have to text when they're upstairs? Yeah? Like, seriously, did you hear me? I'm Latina. This is loud. I know my neighbor can hear me. Calm down. So the interaction models are different, but what's not changing is how humans want to make choices. We're still personal. That's not going to change. So my career was built, so this is my only reference frame, what I'm unlearning, is I didn't look for this path. I looked for the path to learn. And I didn't care if it was like backwards to go forwards. So for you is, what is it that you're looking to do and where can you learn it? Even I'm hearing a lot of younger generation to say, you know, this company doesn't do what I want it to do. Because we heard from Edelman a presentation specifically on looking for the first time, by the way, in decades, the price, the quality, and trust are the key indicators of where you're going to make purchasing choices. What does that mean? If your company and your brand doesn't tell me that it aligns to my values, I'm not purchasing from you. Do you realize what a shift that is for how we as companies have to lead? Your company is not going to touch everything you want to do. You're not going to find impact in everywhere, but you can find meaning and impact somewhere in an adjacency and get what you need out of the career. But be intentional in both ways. It's got to be a win-win situation. I've always had that as a philosophy. What am I putting in to the company that is valuable to them, and what am I getting out? What am I learning? How am I building skill sets? And is that building for the future?
I'll add to that. So, you know, there's no magic path. That's the first thing. But what will be consistent is you choosing your path, to echo what Maria said, and then being ready to take diversions. And it's still going to be the same. So I'm getting to embarrass a couple people because they're friends of mine. So it's going to be Jesus, the vice chair of high tech. And then you just heard from Akhtar. Is Akhtar still here? Akhtar, oh, there he is. He's back. So I had the pleasure of working in both their organizations during my time in IBM. Jesus reinvented himself multiple times. I mean, when I first came into consulting, he says, hey, there's this thing we're going to do, this application innovation services. I need you to figure that out in mid. And I said, well, what is it? He says, I don't know. Go figure it out. He says, go do that. And we need to sell 100 million in next month. Okay, great. Let's go figure that out. And when I first started, one of the first people I worked with Akhtar. My title was software engineer, and I didn't code. And I was in his. He was like, "What the hell do you do anyway?" It's like, you have an MBA, and yes, well, we're going to create banking solutions. Yeah, okay. So, but Akhtar, even himself, Akhtar said, "I'm going to India. I'm going to reorganize things in India." He came back, and now he's here in Austin. He's reorganizing things here. Each of them, Jesus ran Latin America for a long time. And one of my regrets to career, I wish I would have taken that job when he said, "Hey, why don't you come help me run Latin America?" But I went to Southeast Asia. I don't regret it, but working with Jesus is wonderful. So that's what I'd say is it look for those opportunities. And now here's AI. Use AI to help figure you out. Like I didn't have, if I could have guessed, I mean, you can ask all these these new sources that will tell you and make recommendations of what you should be thinking about.
And I'll add this, be humble. A vice president, you guys heard from Lynette Aguilar from AT&T. She's an officer of that company. And what she runs is no small business. I'll tell you that much. You can go into a bank and be a vice president tomorrow. Titles do not matter. The scope of what you manage, what you're learning from it, and where it can take you. And then the last thing I'll tell you is look around here, guys. Every single one of you is a network of connections. And if we do it right at High Tech, our mission, because I'm on the board and this is what I sign up for, is we pull each other up and we push each other up. This is the mission. I know we don't use it anymore, but we are architects of growth. So don't hesitate to come to us because there's an element of vulnerability that I will tell you. My career started because there was an internship in my college that nobody wanted to take from SBC Datacom because it was a glorified, it was called engineering training, glorified packer and unpacker of boxes in the warehouse. And this Latina says, well, what kind of boxes are there? There were Cisco boxes, Cisco networking. And I went from packing and unpacking to installing them to telling the engineers, how do I help you set them up? They will train me to put them together. And next thing I know, I got paid the highest there was across my engineering class because I made myself valuable. Every single one of you needs to understand what your company is about, what they're trying to accomplish, and how you're creating value in your roles every day.
That was amazing. Thank you so much.
We have time for one more question.
Hi, I'm Sushant. I'm security architect at Palo Alto Networks. So I actually help secure our AI integration within our product. So my question is more on behalf of my daughter. She cannot make it here today. She's 2 years old. But I'm wondering, like, how does it look like when she's ready to go to college, right? I mean, where, we're talking about the next generation, like, AI workforce, right? So I see a couple of problems brewing right now. One is obviously like people going to college, they can't find a job, or crazy requirements like 5 years internship. Even finding internship looks like they need experience for that. Another one I'm seeing is also that all these assignments, curriculum is based on like human doing it, but my nephews, everyone I see, like they just use AI for it, right? So in networking we call it pass-through proxy, right? So doing all this, right? I mean, where do you see like where should higher education even exist, right? Down the road with the way it is right now.
I'll tell you a couple of things. Number one, love her deeply. Make sure your home is a place where love exists because that builds confidence in an individual. And kids today, if you look at the statistics for the 15 to the 17-year-old, they're struggling with loving themselves. For the first time, we see that generation having mental instability like anything before. Love your children. Make them feel proud of what they do and who they are. Number one, build confidence. Number two, competence is the greatest equalizer. I didn't know I was a woman or that I had an accent because I was a freaking darn good engineer. And my engineer peers, by the way, I was the only girl in my class, respected me. Competence. Whatever she decides to do, she must be the best at it. Encourage her, love her, set up excellence as the bar. And then third, you don't know the future. She doesn't either. Intellectual curiosity. We talk about courage. Honestly, I have a different way of thinking of courage. I don't think you can be courageous if you are not in an environment that allows for courage to present itself. It's very easy to tell somebody, be courageous, but if you know you're going to be called out, you're not going to say a thing, right? So as leaders, the rest piece is on us. I am a woman engineer. I am building environments where we're not going to look at your color, your race, your gender. We're going to look at competencies to be able to allow for growth, for opportunities. And we're going to mentor you if there's a deficit, not because of one of those areas, but because you didn't get the learning that I need you to have for the future. If you show up on time, if not early, you'll be surprised how many people don't do that. Be nice, like hello matters. Yes, welcome. We say hello, we say goodbye. So manners matter. And then that confidence that comes from somebody that is humble enough to know what they know and what they don't know.
All right, so I have a mic, so I'm going to break the rule because we have one more
Yeah.
question. And
Please,
but
one more.
I answered your question by doing. So my answer to your question is I gave the mic to Maria. Mom is always in charge. Okay? Know that. And
Yes.
and if you
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, both. Second, if you do want her to attend an institution of higher learning, start investing now because it's not getting cheaper. All right. So if you speak up, we'll hear you. Or I'll repeat it.
For those in the virtual space, somebody else just added that they were asking the same question in the last summit, and they also settled on the critical thinking as a critical skill. And you were talking about getting them to a kindergarten that is encouraging that. I will tell all of you, listen, if you have money to send your kid to a private education, that is an advantage. And schooling, right, we see in the United States, you see about 70% advantage in a private school in general, no matter where you're at. But now there's micro learning. Go to Notebook LLM. I don't know if you guys have used that tool. Type in what you want to learn. It will teach it to you. It will actually put it into a podcast if you want to listen as you're driving. There is such a different way for anybody that really is curious, critical thinking, intellectual curiosity to learn.
So two things as we end, because I know I broke the rule and did one more question. First, also Maria, as I told you, tidbits. Maria's co-author of a book called Return on Inclusion. Okay. And so read that, and I'm going to use that to give my answer. Another final answer to that question is so I have a daughter, she's 20 and at UT, she's STEM. She's my simple version of what she's an environmental biologist. She's going to get her PhD. It's all set. All these great things. We fostered curiosity because we lived around the world. We always put her in uncertain situations where she had to figure it out. So I think empowerment is something we all have to do with our kids that we don't do enough of. And then, come on, we're at high tech right now. So black, brown, all of us. I have to be African American, but people normally look at me and go, "What the hell are you?" I've been everything. If I go to the country, they'll speak the language to me. So I've been Hispanic. It's all right. I think that's why Jesus has invited me to many of the functions because I blend. So, I do think that we have to make extra effort for females and black and brown, and then even technical thinkers, regardless of your ethnicity. It's just not appreciated in the same way. We think differently. And we have to make sure that we push that forward in our kids to say it's okay. Everyone loves, someone's on the spectrum. We're all on the damn spectrum. That's why it's called spectrum. So it's okay. So that would be my last is empower them like we wish that we were empowered. So with that, now we have to wrap. So Maria, any final comments?
No, maybe story for you. We didn't talk about technology at all. We talked about you. I hope you appreciated that. I'll tell you a story it taught me. I mean, one thing you didn't ask is like, what did you do wrong? Have you learned anything that has shifted you? So many. We don't have time, but I'll tell you a different story. I brought the first 5G trials to the United States back in 2018 in the healthcare space. And I remember sitting with the head of the largest healthcare hospitals in the United States. his CFO, his, all his technical team, and I'm talking with the AT&T team about 5G. And you can see all of them are looking at me like, why are we talking about 5G? And I remember stopping and saying, hey guys, I remember 2007 really well when AT&T had the exclusivity deal with iPhone. And I remember the BlackBerry CEO, who had 42% of the market share at the moment, say that is a terrible phone. He was right. The iPhone is a sucky phone. That he missed the point of what it was. But I also remember in 2009 when I was managing networks for another company and my engineers telling me my best server is the best thing in the world. Do you guys remember a best server if you ever had to manage telecom in your world? That was the server that managed the BlackBerry. And they said, I will never bring that iPhone into my enterprise because it's not meant to be an enterprise tool. It was meant to be a consumer product. Boy, were they wrong, were they not? And so what I told those people at that table, I said, I know that 5G sounds so far away for you, but so it was the same back then. And what I learned in that moment is that I should have been a better leader to say, I need to know what that will be, because by the time iPhones hit my environment, they had everything they want. I had nothing to ask of them. I had to accept them as they came because I didn't shape how they would come into my environment. So if you want to shape the future of 5G for healthcare, here's your opportunity. You're sitting at a similar intersection, just like I am. What is AI is going to do for us? How are you personally engaging with AI? What do you know? What don't you know? I ask one thing of you. Look at yourself in the mirror carefully and say, what don't I know enough of? Have that humble confidence and then go learn, because the micro learning is available there, guys. You can learn anything you want, but know what you need to know so that you can stay ahead. Because as we heard earlier today, we're seeing a tremendous shift in the speed of adoption of technology, and we are going to be relevant. Lean into the pieces that are human as a leader, but you still need to know what you're managing. And this comes from somebody that literally was taking an MIT class over the Christmas break so that I can get deeper into a topic, right? Eternal learning, however you do it, pick what you want to, but that was gonna be my last story, right? Don't forget that we are in transition, and boy, we're gonna be more transition through the years. And if you are here, you already did the best thing, which is put your time to where you can learn. So kudos to you.
So thank you. And as we close out, it was our session. We thank you for being part of it. It was the handbook on leadership, and we talked very little about the AI itself. But remember, the leadership starts with us, and we're always going to be out in front as humans. So thanks for the time.